And while the retarded haters' tears keep flowing, like they always do when they don't get their way, let's move on to the next topic of discussion, shall we? But before we begin, yep, it's me again. They hate me, that's why they give a fuck about me at the same time. As always, JD Miles. The MGTOWs they love to hate, even the ones that claim everybody loves to hate them, loves to hate MGTOW at the same time. As always, this is why our retarded ass haters keep us relevant to this day, and I'm back again. For tonight's topic of discussion, in which I'm pleased. I am so pleased. Now remember, I did make a video regarding this situation where a stripper put a man's name on the birth certificate, in which I consider that as forgery. And this man rushed out to, I believe, Channel 9 News in Detroit, bringing this issue to public's attention. Guess what? There's now been an update. Now, y'all see the title. And what's more, this is further proof. This right here is further proof that paternity fraud and mandatory DNA testing should be looked at throughout the entire nation. Tennessee has passed the law making paternity fraud a crime and DNA testing mandatory at birth. Salute to the state of Tennessee. And guess what? What I'm talking about. The state of Michigan is following right behind Tennessee and a few other states too. That being said, let's listen to the update.
Kelly, thank you. One man's life going through some unnecessary legal drama. This after receiving a letter that he had fathered a child with a woman he'd never even met. Now, vindication of source. It's a follow-up to a story I brought you earlier this year on his legal fight and what comes next.
She don't know me. How do you just put my name down? How do you just put anybody's name down? I don't know her, never seen her. Still to this day, haven't talked to her. And it just proved out that the baby has no ties to my name. And thankfully, the lady did bring the child in to get tested. And that's all I needed to happen.
This letter from friend of the court reads in part, Dear Mr. Smith, enclosed is a copy of the genetic test results, excluding you as the father.
Let's just set the record. I trust my husband because I know his character, man of integrity.
I would like to say relief, but it's kind of like confirmation, really, because I already knew that I had no ties and no links to this child or this woman. And to have that letter come to my house, it was a little unnerving, but not from the standpoint of being caught up in something. It was a little unnerving that, a letter like this could come to my house having no legitimacy to it.
We first brought you the story of D'Angelo Smith in late January when he presented some wild allegations against friend of the court in Berrien County. The initial letter sent to his home stated, a woman who we are not naming alleging him to be the father of her daughter, a child between the age of 1 and 2 years old.
She's a stripper from Detroit. We had a one-night stand at some hotel that we supposed to have been and went to, and this is a story that was told to me.
While playing the waiting game for the alleged mother to bring in the baby for a DNA sample, the school where D'Angelo Smith teaches received an inquiry for possible garnishment if things did not go in his favor.
Where it made it not something that was being alleged, now it's something that's being taken into action, and there's no paternity been established.
But clearly, these test results confirm that to no longer be the case. That being said, strong marriage or not, clean past or not, that's a very tough letter for anyone to receive.
Absolutely.
Without any proof.
Absolutely. It is. It is. The main things that they have to provide to the state of Michigan is a name and a birth date and where they live. That's easy information for someone to gather off of Google, off of Facebook, off of any kind of social media platform.
People who have...
She ain't lying neither. A person can get your name straight off of Google and put it on the birth certificate. Now, before I go any further, another update that I need to inform you fellas about is that it's now down to a point to where these mothers who lay down with multiple men, get pregnant, and don't know who the father is now down to a point to where the hospitals have made it down to a point to where they cannot forge a man's name on the birth certificate. And in some hospitals, the the baby daddy has to be present during the birth. And if the supposed father of the child is not there, he's not present, then the mothers cannot forge a random man's name on a birth certificate. In fact, you got doctors and nurses who will keep that birth certificate blank until they find out who the biological father is. And if a biological father is not present, then that birth certificate will be held by the city until a DNA paternity test is made. Once the biological father has been found, that's when he signs the name on the birth certificate. Y'all can't tell these retarded fucks can't tell none of us we're not making fucking progress. The haters can say that we're not making progress. The anti-manosphereans can't say that we're not making progress. In fact, they so busy focusing on the negatives that all the positive things that's coming out fly over their heads. And they wonder why. Their causes are nothing more than just a struggle. But let's continue.
Checker past, who have done things in the past, who have, stepped out and did things that was unbecoming of a real man, right? And so, but they've changed and they've cleaned up their act and they've gotten better, which all of us have the opportunity of doing, of getting better. But a letter like this coming to that house, a man that has changed his ways, that has walked in a different direction, this letter could be absolutely devastating because of what you've done before.
We made several calls to lawmakers in Lansing who are familiar with this particular topic to get some answers.
It's very unfortunate, but paternity fraud is not a unique, unusual situation in Michigan.
Senator Jim Runstead tells me he's been pushing for new legislation on the matter during the past 8 years, saying right now there's no penalty for lying. Senator, what was the opposition for not passing this kind of legislation?
Well, maybe it would hinder mothers who don't want to name a particular guy or they made a mistake, but you had to knowingly name the wrong person. It becomes emotional stuff.
Respectfully, to mandate that DNA testing for the child is conducted first before a letter is sent to someone's home alleging they may be the father of a child regarding a woman whom they have never met, doesn't that seem like common sense type of legislation?
I tell you, Josh.
Yes, it is. But you got courts and some justice systems who are more than willing to ignore that, all because all because the mother has something to hide. And for those of y'all who've been watching Maury, Paternity Court, and all these other shows that reveals paternity testing, oftentimes, oftentimes when she sleeps around, and let's say for instance she has a boyfriend or a husband, if she sleeps around, but the risk comes in the form of her getting pregnant, what they try to do. Because when they get pregnant, that's when they know they really fucked up. So what do? They try to pretend that their their pregnancy is a result of what they did with their boyfriends and husbands. But some, then again, I ain't gonna say some, most just can't keep what they do behind their boyfriends and husbands' back behind closed doors. Eventually, those doors swing open, and in the end, they end up finding out about the whole situation. Yeah, some will be completely oblivious, but others will find out. And the ones that find out, they have complete doubt. Does that mean that they're not the fathers? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that she's been sleeping around. She ended up getting pregnant, and as I said before, because she has multiple partners, she don't know who the dad is. So 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 to so to keep it a secret, while at the same time try not to damage their marriage or relationships, they will instantly claim that the child belongs to either their boyfriend or their husband. That is until, in most cases, the ugly truth comes out. So at this point, their deception now turns to entrapment. They fucked up, and now they trying to do everything they can to correct their fuck up. But I ain't gonna go any further. Let's continue.
The common sense goes out the window. I'd be more than happy to put that bill in. I'm telling you, it wouldn't even get a hearing in committee. I'll guarantee it wouldn't even get a hearing in committee. I ran across this before.
The only reason I believe that this woman came in was because of Fox 2. Fox 2 provided a platform where the word got out, and this word spread it like wildfire quickly to the point where the lady came in. Now I asked the friend of the courts about bringing her in. They said, well, we just have to wait until she comes in. But I thank God that Fox 2 provided a platform where the lady was able to come in, but everybody does not have that opportunity for Fox 2 to show up at their doorstep to help them out.
A lot to wrap your head around, guys. Real quick, as we did in our initial story, we called friend of the court for a comment but have not heard back. In the meantime, Senator Jim Rusted tells me if you're caught in a similar situation, your best option is to hire an attorney if possible. Also, and this is very key, reach out to your lawmakers. The senator says more bipartisanship. In the meantime, Senator Jim Rusted tells me if you're caught in a similar situation, your best option is to hire an attorney if possible. Also, and this is very key, reach out to your lawmakers. The senator says more bipartisanship is much. In the meantime, Senator.
One more time for the people in the back.
Jim Rusted tells me if you're caught in a similar situation, your best option is to hire an attorney if possible. Also, and this is very key, reach out to your lawmakers. The senator says more bipartisanship is much needed on this very.
So go on in, reach out. Go on, man, reach out for them. Oh, baby. Straight up. Reach out to your lawmakers. Let them know that this is an issue. That's how Tennessee changed the laws to where you cannot commit paternity fraud without paying a price. And why before she files for welfare, child support, what may have you, that child is going to get tested to see who his or her biological father is. Now, Michigan is also following suit, but you got to reach out to these lawmakers to let them know just how serious paternity fraud is and why DNA testing should be mandatory. And as y'all constantly been hearing me saying, a man has every right to know whether or not he's the biological father of that child. Just and likewise, a child has every right to know who their biological father is. I've been saying this, and I'm going to keep on saying it because you know that that what I say is absolute fact. But yeah, fellas, we all need to reach out to our lawmakers, regardless of what state you're in. And yes, there are often times where some is doing the same thing, doing no different than what John Mayer sings about. You can't fight the system from a distance. So why you waiting for the world to change? No, you should not be waiting for the world to change. If you want to get things done, y'all know what to do. Don't let it die out, because that's what they want. But let's finish it off.
Very touchy matter.
It could destroy a whole relationship. I mean, luckily, here's a guy that has, he
has a solid household.
That's very
Nice.
some people would have packed up and left and said, I just don't believe you. You could destroy the life.
Bingo.
Unbelievable story. For them to send that to work.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if you worked at a certain place and the rumors would start to spread?
Yes.
I mean, it is potentially not only family
Definition of character
but
in the
your
public eye.
character and your life.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine how frustrated that family was while they were trying to get answers.
Highly frustrated, Amy and Jay. Highly frustrated because, again, you're getting an inquiry about your finances without even confirmation if you're connected to this particular case.
Hey, where's the proof? Wow.
It's a lot more.
Exactly. But keep in mind, fellas, you got certain groups, even certain courts, judges, what may have you, government organizations, what may have you, trying to fight tooth and nail to keep paternity fraud legal, to keep deceiving these men and screwing these men over legal. I mean, look at Tennessee. You had Tennessee's Department of Human Services trying to keep paternity fraud a crime and prevent mandatory DNA testing. Now the question is why? Why would it go so far The answer to that question, they fear of losing money. I mean, it's as I stated before. It's as I stated before. They're afraid of losing money. So basically, it's the money that got them going against mandatory DNA testing and paternity fraud. Then you got this situation out in New York where you don't want they don't want to bastardize the children. So even if you're not the biological father, if the child looks at you as the father, then guess what? Guess what? You're stuck in that trap. Now, later on down the pipe, I will tell you all the things you need to do. You need to do if you ever find yourself in this situation. And all the things you should try to avoid doing. One example is if you are suspected to be the father of someone's child. However, if you have an inkling of a doubt, any form of a doubt that the child isn't yours, then guess what? Then what is your biggest mistake if you're in that situation? What's the biggest mistake a man can make if he doubts that he's the father of the child in question? The answer? Signing that birth certificate. Once you sign that birth certificate, you're screwed. By signing that birth certificate, you are legally responsible. And in some states, when you sign that birth certificate, you're done. Not unless you have a good lawyer to get your name removed. And it's not cheap either. I'll just want to go ahead and just tell you that. But as I stated earlier, it's now down to a point to where unless the baby daddy, the potential father, is there at birth, these women can no longer write random men's name on the birth certificate. In fact, if there's no man present, that birth certificate remains blank. And in some states, it gets sent to the city, to the courts, where then and only then will paternity testing will be initiated. And if it turns out that the person in question is the biological father of the child, then the next step for him is to sign the birth certificate because he is the father. What happens after that is on him. But if the person is not the biological father of the child, that birth certificate will remain blank until he is found. Marinate on that. But nevertheless, I said what I had to say. I'm done. To all the men out there in Michigan, contact your lawmakers because the more you keep quiet and the more you pull yourself back from this, it ain't going to change. It's going to continue. It's only going to continue until y'all make that step. And that's all that Uncle JD has to say. But nevertheless, I said what I had to say. I'm done, and I'm out this bitch. Later.